Welcome into Columbia, home of the #1 team in the country, the South Carolina Gamecocks, in the midst of a 4-game homestand as they host the Aggies of North Carolina A&T tonight from Colonial Life Arena. As we say hello and welcome you inside, along the Las Vegas Aces president and former college coach Nikki Fargas, I'm Tiffany Green. Well, if you're just watching South Carolina for the first time, shame on you. Why? Because they are the real deal.
They have the experience, they have the depth, they have the coaches, but they have the will. This team has shown early in November that they are playing for March Madness.
When you think back to earlier in this year, it was in the month of March that heartbreak was delivered to the Gamecocks on a last-second opportunity to try to take down Stanford. Instead, the eventual champion walks on with a 66-65 victory. However, every returning starter is back on this year's team from that Final Four appearance and then some, adding an important piece, and important pieces like Carmela Cardozo, who transferred over from Syracuse, the ACC Freshman of the Year. And what have they done so far? The Gamecocks have handled business, taking down 3 top 10 opponents, the most in Division I. It's Dawn Staley who's at the helm of this program in her 14th season. They've been to the mountaintop, looking to get back there yet again. They have all the pieces, but who is the glue that holds them together?
Bree Beal. There is no question about it that she is the unsung hero of this team. She can score the basketball, but Beal has adapted her mindset beyond one column on the stat sheet. She chose to embrace the role needed as a lockdown defender for South Carolina, and she is the glue on both ends of the court.
Defensively, South Carolina ever so tough, and Terrell Robinson's team is going to have their hands full. Obviously, great success in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, going over to the Big South this season, and his group will face off against the Aggies as we are underway from Colonial Life Arena. A Monday night matchup between the Aggies and the top-ranked South Carolina Gamecocks.
As we were watching today, South Carolina really was talking about bringing pressure to the basketball, making sure that they have hard hedges, and the rotation, as you can see by Saxton, allows them to make them take a bad shot.
Both of these teams have a common opponent in who they last faced, which was Elon. It was South Carolina downing Elon 79-38. Aaliyah Boston, the All-American, one of the faces you will get a chance to see tonight on display. But Victoria Saxton, who's playing with such great confidence this season in her senior year.
She is. She's someone that has just really developed a different level of confidence this season. She's one of the co-captains on the team, and you can see that one of the main staples of a South Carolina team is to establish paint points. They want to put the ball inside. That's
where they have about 50% of their scoring coming from inside the paint, off the miss. And here come the Gamecocks, tipped up. And Destiny Henderson, who runs the point, but there's Bree Beal on the wing. They keep swinging it around. South Carolina coming in at a perfect 7-0. Wide open look for Bree Beal, and Beal is off the mark there.
I like the patience that South Carolina is playing with right now. They've gotten a few ball reversals. They've got some movement. They've got the looks that they want. Now they got to knock down some of those wide open shots.
On the inbound, they find Boston. Boston, who's coming off a 12-point performance in the corner. Pocket three, no good, but there's Bree Beal coming up with the rebound and just loses it. A number of gold jerseys around. Possession arrow stays with the Gamecocks.
As we talk about Beal throughout the season, and especially when you think of the success of South Carolina, Beal, she makes up for mistakes that other players make on the team, whether it's a bad shot. She came up with another possession for South Carolina. She's just that type of player for them.
Destiny Henderson thought about it. 3 to go on the shot clock, kisses it off the glass, and she's on the board. A 4-0 advantage for South Carolina. Gamecocks ever so efficient from the floor, 50% on the season.
The patience that A&T is going to have to play with, one, securing the basketball is going to be key for them. They have got to maximize every single possession that South Carolina allows them to have, because South Carolina defense, again, it will wear on you. They may not see it in the first few minutes, but when you get into the second half, their defensive intensity just goes to another level.
Saxton finds Zaya Cook, and Cook sees that one pop in and out. Back the other way, Shannon Scott, who transferred over from Georgia Tech, and now adding a lift for the Aggies this season. Good look for Sharika McNeil. She can't get it to go.
The pace of the game right now is in South Carolina's favor, but at this point, they've taken the last 3 shots have been jumpers. Got to get the post some touches here.
Well, you see Aaliyah Boston high, and cross-court pass, shielding behind Bree Beal, and Destiny Henderson is fouled driving the baseline.
Destiny Henderson is one of those players that you love to see in transition. Her ability to play downhill, she's one of the fastest point guards with the basketball that we've seen in a long time.
All gas, no brakes
No
when
brakes.
you watch Destiny Henderson out of Fort Myers. On the inbound play, there's Beal sliding and just can't get it to go. And early on, South Carolina shooting about 33% from the floor, but have a 4-0 advantage. But you talked about defensively and just how that energizes them on the offensive end, being ever so stingy with giving up points. Think about what they did against both UConn and Oregon, holding the Ducks to 63 points. That's the most points they've given up this season. The Aggies can't buy a basket. Cook has it, tries to gun it in to Saxton, and last touch by the Aggies.
One of the game plans, if you play a team like South Carolina, is force them to shoot the ball from the outside. You can't take away the inside, but you can make them have difficult shots on the perimeter, but giving them paint points, that's where they're really good at.
And there they try to go inside the paint, and Aaliyah Boston is able to hit it, and she'll go to the line to try to finish off the 3-point play.
I like the high-low action that South Carolina worked on today. They are one of the best teams in the country in bringing their post players high, playing in that shoot area, and Aaliyah Boston finishing with contact at the basket for a potential and one.
The Gamecocks leading scorer and rebounder thus far on the season, and the preseason player of the year knocks it down. But the slow starts that we've seen from South Carolina this season, they really get ramped up in the second half, but how can they jumpstart things here through the first 2 quarters?
Well, I like at the very beginning, they said we're going to establish the inside play. Right now, Saxton was a layup for them. Aaliyah Boston just now got another and one, a 3-point play. Again, I like the fact that they're moving the basketball. Guards are going to have to make shots, but at the very beginning of the game, get your post some touches, get some easy baskets, and then those long twos will happen for you.
You see all smiles there from Dawn Staley, but you know she's going to have something to say after that first time out about, hey, ladies, you know, because coming in, she said, well, one of the things that we need to do is shoot the ball efficiently,
Correct,
but also take care of the basketball.
Well, when you say that's really simple.
Right. It's the execution piece of it that has to play out, and pestering McNeil out there on the wing. She drives a little bit closer. Mid-range jumper won't go, but rolls off the foot of Saxton. The Aggies, who left the MEAC after 39 years, but they left as champions of the conference. And Terrell Robinson, who is an alum of North Carolina A&T State University, is just looking for good things to happen here tonight, no matter the outcome.
He mentioned that today to us about, I'm going to celebrate what we do well in this game after the game, and I think that's going to be key for his team moving forward. It's going to be key for them being able to learn from this game and grow from it, but they've got to do some good things. Right now, South Carolina isn't scoring the ball at a high rate, but North Carolina A&T is doing enough right now, considering that it's almost 5 minutes of play has elapsed.
Keeping it out, and then stolen away. Coming in was Kia Adderton. Adderton, who was one of the many new faces on this team. 5 transfers, 10 new additions in total for the Aggies.
You know, Scott did a great job last year. You know, she had to play out of position a little bit at that 4 slot. Now she's at her true position. Great athlete, someone who you got to make sure that you put her in isolation so you can take advantage of her athleticism.
checking into the ball game, and there's Jasmine Harris registering the first 2 points for the Aggies. The senior transfer from Charlotte, and now she has the assignment of trying to protect the paint. A nice cut there from Aaliyah Boston, who swiftly came through the lane.
That is textbook. When the post player receives the double, the high post player, they are automatically supposed to dive to the rim. Great pass by Saxton, hitting her buddy Boston for an easy layup.
The three goes down for Adderton. So North Carolina A&T hanging close. Just a 4-point advantage for South Carolina. A little more than 5.5 minutes gone by. Here's Scott on the rebound. They've got numbers. Scott looking, going in all the way. And a blocking foul called against South Carolina. But let's go back to the All-American Aaliyah Boston. We saw her sprinting the floor, but this is the work that she put in coming into the season to get that transformation on the floor, to see it here tonight.
I knew I wanted to make a change within my body just early on in the season last year. We traveled down to South Dakota and we were playing them, and I just felt like I wasn't really moving, but I was so confused as to why. And when we got back, I just realized that it was what I'm eating and basically just me not being able to move on the court. And so I decided that it's time to make a change so I can help the team.
Getting beat up in the South Dakota game, it was a really physical game. And so part of that is just making sure that she was fueling properly as well. So that was really that turning point of like, okay, we need to start making some changes and really dial in on this nutrition front, because that's going to affect your energy. That's going to affect how sluggish or how good you feel, how heavy your legs feel. And that really kind of was the catalyst for us.
I've noticed a difference just by the way I'm moving on the court. I like to call myself bouncy, so I definitely get up there. I jump high, but now I think it's even higher. I'm able to stay on the court longer. And I just think just everything, all my play, just my shots, I'm being able to stay balanced. And even when I'm tired, I'm still able to knock it down because I'm not worried about catching my breath as much.
Aaliyah's a different breed in her mindset, and I think that's what separates her from a lot of different players. And I think when she kind of came to that realization, beginning of her sophomore year, she wasn't performing the way that she knew she wanted to or she knew she could. And she took it upon herself to make a change.
Oh, I definitely think these changes will help us win a championship, just because I'm able to just continue to stay on the floor and help my team in any way that they need me. I just think I'm just able to give everything that I got, and that's all I can.
Well, Boston showed us how she was running like a gazelle, and that was one of the biggest areas of improvement for Boston, dropping nearly 0.4 of a second in that three-quarter court sprint. But that's just one of the few metrics that you've seen that's been changed.
Well, she talked about that. She goes, it's time to make a change. And she committed herself to making that change by improving in all of those areas that you mentioned. But that's the importance of focusing right now on developing that type of lifestyle, because Aaliyah Boston is the best player, the best post player in the game today. When it's time for her to go to the next level, she's already ahead of the game by taking care of business while she's at the collegiate level.
She got that encouragement and guidance from the strength and conditioning coach, Molly Bonetti, who you heard just a few seconds ago. And she talked about how Aaliyah Boston already came into this program with pro-like habits, but there, being able to swiftly move, to sharpen some of those skills that she already brought in, only helps her at the next level.
I love how she said that she's bouncy. Well, when you improve your vertical by 4 inches, yes, you're going to be more bouncy.
I love the way she added a coil or two more in there for those springs to be more springy, huh?
Dawn Staley mentioned that a former player of hers, Tiffany Mitchell, also made that transformation, and you can see what she's doing now in the WNBA. Aaliyah Boston is definitely on her way to doing so. As you can see, she's running down the floor like a guard in transition defense to be able to come up with the basketball. Obviously, the conditioning it takes a player's commitment mentally, and she's done that mentally to make herself one of the best players.
When you think about all the accolades which you see here on the screen, the National Freshman of the Year, I mean, so much attention has been paid to Aaliyah Boston. But after that freshman campaign, you say, well, how do I get better? And the self-evaluation from a youngster, 18, 19 years old, to say, I need to do more, I want to be better, is quite impressive.
But she wants to be better not only for herself, but for her team. She understands that I've got to do more than what I did last year so we can get to that point of I'm playing longer, I can defend longer, I can stay in the game longer. When I'm tired, I have legs to finish. And so she's taken that mentality and applied it in the offseason.
Adderton had that one maybe partially blocked by Saxton. Well, we keep talking about Aaliyah Boston, and it wasn't just the nutrition piece of it, it wasn't just the weight training, but she got a chance to train with a Hall of Famer, Tim Duncan, and they shared their roots from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Boston from St. Thomas, Duncan from St. Croix, and being able to work out with the Hall of Famer, to improve on those post moves. Say, well, what did you learn most from him? She said patience.
And you can see her footwork, the patience that it takes to assess and look at things. But Duncan is one of those players, too, that when you watched him, when I was watching him at Wake Forest, and then you watch him at the next level, his ability to just dissect the game and get the offensive positioning early. He does his work early, and as you can see, Boston is doing the work early. She's got the player going to the middle, then she pivots back. Great footwork there. You know what? She's getting better dancing. We talked about that earlier.
You suggested ballroom dancing.
I did suggest ballroom dancing.
Yeah, being light on your feet. And of course, what is it like to learn from a Hall of Famer like Tim Duncan, who was a part of that 2020 class, but because of COVID, was then inducted and had a ceremony earlier this year. The touch pass, and there's Jasmine Harris once more. Harris with 4 of the 8 points for North Carolina A&T.
Harris is doing a nice job of really being in the right spot at the right time and allowing herself to get those baskets.
One of the great new faces for Dawn Staley's team is Bree Hall. Hall, who is a freshman out of Dayton, Ohio, another excellent recruiting class, #1 in the country.
Time and time again, South Carolina puts together the best rotations. She needed someone to come in and knock down the shot. So what does she do? She goes to her bench, she brings in her freshman, and she's able to do exactly that. Now the defense is going to have to stretch a little bit more, know where she's at, which is going to open up that middle a little bit easier for them.
You can't leave Hall open again for 3, and this time is off the mark, but on the floor for the Gamecocks. Bree Hall, Destiny Henderson. First look at Camila Cardoza. As we mentioned, the transfer from Syracuse, Letitia Amihir and Destiny Littleton.
I think on that play, Cardoza should have gave Amihir that look. She dove right down the basket. I thought that could have been an easier 2 for them at that point.
Shannon Scott, who's come off strong back-to-back games, and with the 6'7" in her face, that's Cardoza who couldn't get to it, and Scott now with 3 points.
I think the contest by Cardoza made Scott put a little bit more arc on that shot.
And the deny there. Good defense from Jasmine Harris. Now 4th turnover for South Carolina. Faith Blackstone for the long 2. Won't go. Littleton looking up the court, and Destiny Henderson wasn't expecting it that quickly. So yet another turnover as the Gamecocks hand it right back over.
You don't want to play sloppy basketball. You have played some of the best teams in the country. You've played at such a high level, and your execution should be better. And that's where I think Dawn is going to start playing different players, look at different rotations as well.
Bounces off, but second chance opportunity, the offensive rebound for the Aggies. And what a pass and a block, even better, rejected and swatted away by Letitia Amihir.
When we talk about Ami here, we're talking about one of the best athletes in the game. She's someone that can do it all offensively and defensively. South Carolina has got to get it going on the defensive end. Aaliyah Boston, you have to establish her early. She's shooting 4 for 4 from the field, 9 points, leading all offense right now for South Carolina. She's doing it all. She's someone that when you are off to a slow start, make sure that you give her a look every time down the floor. You have to see her. You got to understand that she's going to be efficient for you, and she's going to score the basketball.
And that's an area where Dawn Staley was challenging her team to be more efficient in the paint, and you see there, perfect so far from the floor. Meanwhile, the rest of your team, to your point, Nikki, 3 of 10 from the floor and just 7 points.
Generating offense different ways. Get yourself to the free throw line. Let's get ourselves out in transition. Let's turn them over a little bit more. Let's get some steals. But I will give North Carolina A&T some credit. In practice today, they worked on sending 2-3 people back to eliminate the transition. South Carolina has done enough defensively, holding them to 10 points. Offensively, that's where the efficiency has got to be better.
Well, to say after 1 quarter on the road and you're down by just 6 points to the #1 team in the country, I think Terrell Robinson and his team would take that.
He would. And his roster right now is very thin. He's got several players that are out. Again, he talked about how I'm just going to focus on what we're doing good. And when you play the #1 team in the country, you have to bring your best game. You have to, and not come in scared or timid in your play action.
Cardozo with the rebound. And Bree Hall pulls it out here. Zia Cook running the point, and good look at Sanaya Rivers, and good vision there, but Ami here couldn't finish it. In transition, and Jordan Dorsey is fouled.
The size advantage of South Carolina, play at the rim. Continue to look for those lob diagonal passes, continue to make the defense have to rotate and shift, but seal out and seal up. And then that layup could lead right, or that pass can lead right into a layup.
Jordan Dorsey, the freshman out of Augusta, Georgia, missing the first of 2. Big-time scorer in high school, one of the top guards out of Peach State. So the Aggies trailing by 5 early here in the 2nd quarter.
I like how the Aggies decided to pick up a little bit on the full court there. Got to convert there, but it's there. It's there. The backside of the defense is a little shaky for the Aggies, but South Carolina hasn't been able to take advantage of that yet.
Well, Sanaya Rivers is one of those players who is just still acclimating herself to the college game. She has a ton of talent and potential. Dawn Staley knows it, and just in time and game experience, she will likely get more comfortable as one of the backup point guards on this team.
Watching her in high school, she's one of those players that needs touches. She wants the ball in her hand. She can score the basketball. She can defend. She's just going to be a really solid player for South Carolina. The experience, though, that this young team is getting, South Carolina having a lot of their subs in off the bench, they're getting a lot of great experience.
Ami here with a move, but a whistle on that shot.
The putback of offensive execution, that's another opportunity for teams to score, because one of the things you don't always do is make your first shot. But if you can get in there and get those easy baskets, I love that 7 cut off of the high post there, and again, paint points. I would have thought going into this game that South Carolina was going to just dominate them in the paint. Defensively, the Aggies have done a great job of really collapsing and forcing South Carolina to take more perimeter shots.
Ami here, out of Ontario, Canada, knocks down both of them. We talked about Aaliyah Boston and just what she's done and the improvements that she's made, but great athleticism from me here, and she's one of those checking off a lot of boxes in her metrics as well. Nice shot and adjustment there, and the 7th point delivered from Shannon Scott.
Scott is someone, the ability to score, but her athleticism, I would love to know what her metrics are, because she's an athlete. I mean, just watching her right now.
Rivers got tangled up, and the possession arrow stays with South Carolina.
Again, Scott is someone who the Aggies need to score, and the shot fake there to gather herself, to go up with the pull-up jumper. Aggies are playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Trying to put up some defensive pressure against Zaya Cook, and a foul whistled against the Aggies. Against McNeil. Zaya Cook scoreless thus far in this game, searching for her first 2 points. Cook, who is an All-American, SEC All-Freshman team, McDonald's All-American, a number of those up and down the South Carolina roster. Well, tomorrow night, freshman phenom Kennedy Chandler and number 13 Tennessee host Presbyterian at Thompson Bowling Arena in Knoxville is right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. One tap. How about Rick Barnes' crew off to a 4-1 start? The win last weekend over North Carolina.
The defensive length of South Carolina, they switched up their defense. They're now forcing the Aggies to take outside perimeter shots. The 1-3-1 is going to give you trouble because you can't see anything in the paint from there.
Rivers with a good look, can't go for it. And Scott back the other way. Elbow jumper with a contest from Boston.
Boston needs a touch. There's got to be an opportunity for her to get a post look inside, move her around a little bit, because the Aggies are packing it inside. But again, I like that backside diagonal action that South Carolina was running earlier.
And having a hard time getting it into Boston. Also 5 to go on the shot clock. Long 3 from Cook. And on the air ball, here's Jordan Dorsey. South Carolina 1 of 9 from 3-point range, so not shot it well tonight, although they have done a good job on the season. And the offensive foul called against Rochelle Lee on the screen.
The aggressive play of the Aggies on the offensive end, they're not backing down. They're looking to penetrate. They're looking to come off of ball screens. They're looking to attack bigs, make the extra pass. You got to be happy with the fact that they're sticking to the game plan that was set forth by the Aggies coaching staff.
Well, what did Terrell Robinson come over and share with us during shoot-around? Like, look, this is a group with a lot of new players on the team. So what we have to do early in this process is work on trusting the scout and each other.
And that's what they're doing. They are definitely trusting in each other, and they're making this game play in their favor right now. But again, his ability to get them ready to come into this environment. Number one attendance, draw in attendance in South Carolina, and they came in here ready to play.
And missed opportunities for South Carolina right there on the steal. Ami here couldn't finish it off. It's the Gamecocks who have struggled from the floor here in this second quarter. Still haven't found a bucket. Rolls out. Here's Zaya Cook. A little hand-checking foul goes against the Aggies. Their 4th team foul.
I like how the Aggies are making this game, as Coach Robinson had alluded earlier today. He said, I want to make the game messy. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. He put in this, what he calls a rover defense. He's allowing They're playing like a 2-3, a 3-2. They're allowing their middle man to just roam around and double if need be, clog up the middle, play in the high post. And so that rover-type defense is not easy for South Carolina to score against right now. And as you can see, the ability for South Carolina to get the ball inside has been very difficult. In this possession right there, it also gives them the opportunity to box out because they're not overextending. And one of the things that South Carolina has dominated teams with is their ability to get on the offensive glass.
Right there, saying no, ma'am. Access denied from Aaliyah Boston.
Aaliyah Boston, when you talk about the transition and the transformation of her body and her being bouncy, that block right there, sending it to the backboard, and that's a statement. That's a statement. That should be an energy play for South Carolina right now.
17th block of the season for Aaliyah Boston. Halfway through the second quarter, and another one, back-to-back. She says, look, didn't I tell you before? Don't come in here. You want to try it again?
I like that McNeil is being aggressive for the Aggies, but you are going against the #1 shot blocker right now on South Carolina's team. And actually, it almost looked like a double block by two South Carolina defenders.
We know this to be true. You got to put up a shot before the clock expires, and the shot clock expires. And halfway through this second quarter, top-ranked South Carolina up by 5. A surprising 15 minutes thus far between North Carolina A&T and the #1 team in the country, South Carolina. The Gamecocks have seen Aaliyah Boston do her thing, 9 points, a few blocks in the process, but Dawn Staley's team has to figure some things out. Are you surprised by this so far?
I am. I'm very surprised that South Carolina isn't scoring the ball at a higher rate. They really have improved offensively on the perimeter, and that's something that they've got to be better at in scoring, because a lot of teams are going to pack it inside. I think Scott, though, has done a great job of leading the attack for the Aggies. She's one of those players that can set the tone where the other players on her team will feel and fuel off of her confidence that she has, and that's what you're seeing today.
It was Scott, who's had back-to-back games as the Aggies' leading scorer, had 25 in that 10-point loss to Elon last Monday. The reverse layup along the baseline. There's Zia Cook coming out, and that's what you want to see. You want to see Zia Cook, one of your top scorers on the team, do just that.
Zia's ability to get to the basket, she's so explosive with her first step. And as we talked earlier, the field goal wasn't going down from the perimeter, but what she did show was her ability to get to the rack.
Boston with her 5th rebound. And now Cook with an open look from 3. Won't go. Saxton with the putback, no good. Third chance, third try is a charm.
One of the things that if these guards are going to keep shooting, I would then go to a low post look. I would go to a double low post look, keep my post game on the block, and be the cleanup woman, because you've got two of the best rebounders in the game on the offensive glass in Boston and in Saxton.
It's South Carolina who leads the nation in rebounding margin, better than 17. And here's Boston, who's extended the range, and Aaliyah Boston.
You witnessed that in the UConn game. They were struggling offensively from the perimeter. Aaliyah Boston stepped out and made a 3, and I thought that got them going. But as we were watching them today in practice, it was the bigs versus the small guards, and guess who was winning in the shootout? The bigs. The bigs. Again, you've got two of the best rebounders in the game. When you've got Saxton on the left side, you got Boston on the right side, it's going to be really hard to clean that up. Again, the offensive rebound allowed her to get herself a little bit more comfortable in knocking down the 3. She's expanded her game. You can tell that she is on this path of greatness. because she's one of those players that when we were sitting over here just watching, she has this youthfulness about her. She has this playfulness about her. She loves playing basketball, and she loves being on the stage and being one of those players that does it all for her teammates.
And I can think of another big who played here in Poston. What a move from Destiny Henderson.
The attack by the guard play.
Yeah.
They are putting the ball on the floor, and now they're saying, you know what, we're going to establish paint points, and we're going to do it off the dribble drive.
11-0 run for South Carolina, out to their largest lead of the ball game. So since that 5-minute mark, the light bulb has turned on for the Gamecocks.
Light bulb has turned on. Dawn Staley said, let me get my starters back in there. Let's get this game where we want it, the pace that we want it to be at. When you've got Aaliyah Boston holding it down in the paint, Destiny Henderson is one of the best players going and playing downhill, and she's able to hesitate and go into the score for South Carolina.
The long three there from Sean Kelly. Dark's no good in transition. Henderson decides to pull it out. Well, Boston, Coach Staley said, look, I want you to dominate on both ends of the floor, and thus far she's answered the bell, not only tonight but all season.
She has, and she's one of those players that you've got to know, hey, I've got to do whatever I can to disrupt her, but you cannot keep her off the boards.
8th rebound for Aaliyah Boston, 16 points. She's perfect from the floor, and once again she gets her hand on another shot. Deflection, 3rd block of the night for Boston.
I was just thinking deflections. She just got a steal, right, that deflected, and they went the other way and scored. Now she's blocking shots. She's just so active. Again, she said, I'm more bouncy now.
Right. Aaliyah Boston, who is a preseason player of the year candidate. Boy, is she looking good here tonight. Tania Fagan checking in the ball game for the Gamecocks, guarding Adderton.
We can talk about Boston all night because there is no other center in college women's basketball that is playing at the level that Boston is playing.
1 to go on the shot clock. And a violation. Here comes Destiny Henderson, one of the fastest on the team. Showing off the handles as well. Count it, yes!
Henderson has got the transition game going for South Carolina, but it's being done on the defensive side. That's allowing them to get out in transition. Her ability to finish at the rim has allowed this team to get that momentum.
Going behind the back, and you talked about how she likes to go full steam ahead downhill. Destiny Henderson, one of the more exciting players to watch in all of women's college basketball.
I believe they heard Coach Staley during that timeout about 3 minutes ago. Just 3 minutes ago, and this game has changed momentum tremendously.
I'm going to be your amen corner and say, well, 16-0 run for South Carolina. The top-ranked Gamecocks looking sharp.
Boston, shoot the ball.
She can't miss. She can't miss right now tonight. 18 points, 8 of 8 from the floor for Aaliyah Boston.
The first time it came around to her, shoot it. You're like not, you can't miss.
9th board, so she's closing in on a double-double in this first half, and here she's trailing. She gets it again, thought about it. She said, I want to take the highest percentage shot that I can, but I also want to find a way to get my teammates involved. Here's Boston again. You see that? Did you see that?
I saw. She could have shot maybe 3 other times prior to that, but again, South Carolina is doing a great job of giving her touches. She's touching it. She's in rhythm. The momentum is there. But again, that high-low action is like clockwork. They are putting on a clinic when the ball goes to the buddy and there's a double team in the low block, the high post player is diving and the size is not there to recover.
And a timeout taken by Dawn Staley with a ball movement with perfection. Aaliyah Boston, you mentioned, getting a number of touches, talking about that patience that Tim Duncan taught her.
Well, the patience to just say, you know what, I'm going to get my teammates involved, but then they paid it back to her. Again, being that player that is selfless, the game is going to pay you back.
Shaved off LBs in the offseason, really started that process from her sophomore year, and you saw the great jumps that she's made. And again, when we talk back with Molly Bonetti, the strength and conditioning coach, and say, well, that's where you're going to see the greatest progress. But you don't get frustrated and you don't get discouraged because you don't see the pounds dropping off as quickly as you would like. But what you do is stay committed to the process.
And that's what she's done. And when you have a player who has that mindset, it is easy for for Molly to be able to say, look, this is what you need to do, because she's motivated. She didn't have to do this. She chose to do this. And that's the difference between good players and great players.
Zaya Cook with a look, won't go down. And the Aggies, who could have held for the last shot of the first half, instead turn it back over.
And that's where McNeil's got to be smart. She's got to know last seconds of the game. Let's get one shot. Let's not give South Carolina another possession.
Before the half, and Ami here with the take. So South Carolina ends the half on a 22-0 run. We'll send it back to the studio now. Richard Johnson and Spencer Hall. What's up? South Carolina pulled away in the late part of the second quarter as Aaliyah Boston, who has had an absolutely terrific first half thus far. We welcome you back in, Nikki Fargas, Tiffany Green, and what more can we say about Aaliyah Boston?
I don't know what else you can say about a player who is dominating the game the way she is, and she's doing it multiple ways. Her ability to score the basketball in the post, look at the footwork right there, the patience that it takes to go in there to score. And then defensively, shot blocker, sending it home, and as you can see, she's still protecting the paint with the deflection that leads to a transition basket. And when you have Aaliyah Boston on the offensive glass for those easy putbacks, guess what's going to happen? The three ball is going to come down a lot easier, and then you can see she's extending her range. And I love the movement without the basketball. Aaliyah Boston is dominating not only in this game, but she's dominating in a mentality that it takes to be considered and should be probably the best player in the country, hands down.
If you're just tuning in, we talked about Aaliyah Boston refining her body, but also refining her game as well. Look at these numbers that she's put up, and that's just through 20 minutes of play. The All-American gets better and better, stronger and stronger, and you may have been familiar and still are very familiar with Asia Wilson, who was also a very dominant post here at South Carolina and doing the same thing in the WNBA.
Asia Wilson is by far the player that when you are building a franchise, when you're building culture and a legacy here at South Carolina, those are the type of players that get it done, and Aaliyah Boston is in that category. She's in that conversation, just like we have at the Aces, just like we have with Asia Wilson.
It was Boston who corralled that last rebound, has her 32nd double-double of her career, and still perfect from the floor. Aaliyah Boston 10 for 10. She can't miss tonight here at Colonial Life Arena.
The fact that she, again, you talked about it, deflections. You said it earlier, deflections, and look at the putback.
The way she ran the floor just now, the way that she was determined to get that offensive rebound and put back, Aaliyah Boston is playing at an elite level.
Elite? I'm gonna, exclamation.
Okay.
I mean, it's big.
Okay, so are we going to go to another stratosphere? What's gonna top that?
Epic.
Epic.
Oh,
we'll love it.
She's epic right now.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. And Boston knocks down the free throw. We were talking just about the face of Aaliyah Boston.
Yes.
After not finishing off that putback in that Final Four loss the eventual champion Stanford. And you saw there, and you said there, that was the catalyst for change for Aaliyah Boston to skyrocket to yet another level.
She doesn't want to feel that way ever again. And what a lot of players, they feel the hurt and the disappointment and the sting of not finishing what you started. And she said, you know what, I'm going to work in the off season. So we're not in that position again. And that's why you see the transformation in her body, in her game, and in her mentality.
Ami here nearly lost her balance, but on cleanup duty is Boston again, and she smiles running back down the floor. Just a paltry 27 points tonight for the junior.
Extra effort. She's just playing at a higher level right now because of probably the conditioning and her ability to be in shape. Look at her getting out on the ball, on the hard hedge on the ball screen there. And I love the defensive scheme that South Carolina has. She's hard hedging. Saxton is there to rotate on the post player.
Zia Cook wasn't sure where to go with the basketball. Traveling violation called against the Gamecocks.
Again, you've got a player that not only is moving without the basketball to score it for herself at the offensive putback, but defensively, her deflections, her ability to get her hands on the basketball has been tremendous, but she's also stepping out big on the defensive side. South Carolina, with the depth that they have, you're going to see a South Carolina team play Boston, but they're playing her these minutes so she can continue to elevate and grow.
First points for North Carolina A&T in the last 10 minutes of gameplay. The Aggies with a sizable deficit here on the road against top-ranked South Carolina. Victoria Saxton off the mark there, but she's a player that we enjoy talking about just because a 3-year captain on the team, the defensive effort that she brings to the court, the confidence also that she's come into the season with.
Saxton, I like her. I like her game. I like how gritty she is. I like that she loves to get on the offensive glass and do the work. She's a workhorse, and she's someone too that another great shot blocker that South Carolina has.
Plays her role to perfection. Talking about shot blocking, the block by the Aggies, but not worried about it at all as Aaliyah Boston now with a career high 29 points.
The dribble drive right there, the post defender rotated over. Well, when you drop and you bring the guard, it's a huge size advantage for South Carolina, and Boston's able to clean it up.
The Aggies missing there, traveling just under 3 hours from Greensboro, North Carolina here, the capital city of Columbia, and Ami here with the easy lay-in.
Ami here is playing the point. She's the point guard right now and playing downhill, and it's a difficult guard for players to defend someone of her size, but also of her speed.
Ami here is just one of those players, when you watch her, she just always has this attack mindset. Wide open look for three, count them! 1, 2, 3.
This is the South Carolina. This is why they are the #1 team in the country, because they have multiple weapons, but they do it together in sync. That was a great shot opportunity, and they set each other up. It wasn't anything difficult. It was, let's make the extra pass and let's make the shot, let's take the best shot for our team at this moment. So the unselfish play of South Carolina has allowed them to be so much more efficient offensively.
Ooh, it's the ALIYAH, Aaliyah Boston tonight. Career performance for her with 29 points, another double-double. And you see that lucky number 13 right there. 13 of 13 from the floor. I feel like she's going to have to provide some kind of dance move after this, because she said she's been working, on the rhythm, and we talked about the rhythm of basketball and how you get into a flow, but the rhythm she's gotten into the early part of this season.
I feel like it's the Boston show today.
Mm-hmm.
I do. To play at this pace and this level of intensity mentally, to come in here and not, we talk about this all the time as coaches. Don't play to the level of your competition. She's not. She's playing as though she's playing some of the top teams in the country right now. She's looking at this game as, how can I continue to grow even in the midst of the, maybe they're not ranked, there's not a number in front of them, but my game isn't going to change.
Right. Well, we heard Dawn Staley, talk to us about how important it is and how she makes sure to remind her players that you have to respect the game and your opponent and not show any disrespect or overlooking them. When you do that and then focus on how to be the best version of yourself, that's what's helped to make them so successful.
I agree. The best version of yourself is also communicated to them at a very early time of the, Dawn talked about the recruiting period. Like, she's very communicative with the team, with her roster that she's bringing in, with the rookies. Hey, you've got some All-Americans in front of you. Continue to learn, continue to experience what it is to go in every day and practice and get better, and your time will come.
Well, she sat in the living room of Zia Cook in Toledo, Ohio, the #4 recruit in that class of 2019, and then McDonald's All-American, an important piece of this Gamecock team. Dawn Staley continuing to pass on a great legacy. When you check the resume of Dawn Staley, your jaw just drops. You have to be in awe. Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Famer, 6-time Olympic gold medalist. And it was back in 2015 when she linked up with Carolyn Peck, who was very much historic in her run with the Purdue Boilermakers back in 1999, gave her a piece of the net. And what did Dawn Staley do? Kept a promise and said, I am now going to pass the net over after my 2017 championship to the other black female head coaches in Division I basketball. Adia Barnes, who she met in the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. Johnny Harris, the newly appointed coach at Auburn. Where are you at, girl?
She left me out.
I know. You left LSU.
I left LSU.
Just a few
but
months
I've been
too
25
soon.
years, 24 years of coaching, and I don't get one. But, I'm still part of the Women of Color Network, which is comprised of all of these fabulous coaches that you mentioned, and I don't get a net. I don't get a piece of the net. What's up with that,
That's
Dawn?
something you got to take up with her, after the game. Now, look, you two are very familiar with one another because winning that 1991 national championship, you faced off against Dawn Staley and her Virginia Cavaliers, went on to coach at UCLA in your last post at LSU before taking over as president of the Las Vegas Aces.
Dawn Staley, when we played against, I was a rookie. I was this little freshman, and she was this unbelievable point guard. But I've got another story with Virginia. I was on an official visit. Virginia was one of the schools that I was looking at.
Ooh.
But Dawn Staley, just at that, in the 90s, we're dating ourselves, right? Her ability, court vision, competitiveness, the way that her team plays right now is somewhat, not to the extent yet, but the way she played, with a toughness, with we're going to execute, we're going to make sure that we're pushing tempo and doing all these great things. Dawn Staley is one of those coaches that is a dream coach for any player.
South Carolina experiencing one of the most successful eras, the most successful era under Dawn Staley, and we talked at the top of the telecast just about how they have already taken down 3 top 10 ranked opponents. They won that Battle of Atlantis championship, but that's not all. There's still so much more to come. When you look at this schedule that's forthcoming for the Gamecocks, oh my goodness. I mean, you have a rematch of the Final Four with Stanford, who's kind of been up and down. Maryland is coming your way Sunday. Then Kentucky, UConn again? Again.
When you look at Dawn Staley's competitive spirit, she wants this game to elevate to another level. She wants to take women's basketball to the level of as great as she can. So what do you have to do? You have to go play those teams. You want to be the best? you got to beat the best.
Right.
And so I'm so excited for women's college basketball right now in 2021 and the future of it, because it's in good hands with some great coaches. The players are making the game so exciting to watch, and the things that they're doing to not only again transform their bodies, but the things they're doing to make their universities proud of them, to make the fans, you know, when you got 12, 13,000 fans coming to watch you play, you're doing something right.
Well, Fam's here. She likes her. What's up, Fams? Inside Colonial Life Arena. I mean, she has methodically, you know, built this culture and this idea that you buy in to South Carolina basketball, women's basketball, and she has been a great trailblazer and a torchbearer. You think about the Gamecocks winning the national championship in 2017. 3 out of the last 6 years, they've made it to the Final Four, consistently ranked in the top 25. I mean, you can go down all of the accolades for this South Carolina program, but also it's because of people like her, the respect that she garners across the world of sport, how she speaks up and uses her platform to be a voice for the voiceless, as she talks about. And then, because of her success, she gets the bag too. So she's moving the needle forward. She gets this great extension, 7 years, 22.4 mil. And that's to also speak to just where women coaches need to be paid comparable to their male counterparts, and continuing to push that conversation in terms of equity.
We have to. We have to continue to talk about women's basketball is a sport that has transformed what women's athletics look like. Period. There's no, and I grew up, I ran track, I played volleyball. That there's something about the commitment of women's basketball to the overall well-being of women in sports that has a huge platform. You think about the next level, you know, being with the Las Vegas Aces. There are so many great players who have come from the SEC that have come through Dawn Staley's leadership, that have come through the Georgias, the Tennessees, the Mississippi States. There's a lot of great coaches in this conference, but they also have utilized their platform to build women's basketball to what it is today.
Well, you just think who came through here, obviously. Asia Wilson, who was the WNBA Rookie of the Year. She was also the MVP in 2020. Statue in her honor for what she helped to build here in Columbia. Tiffany Mitchell with the Fever. Ty Harris with the Wings.
And make no mistake about it, South Carolina has more to come.
Oh, yeah.
They have more to come.
You're watching them here tonight.
Yes.
Anaya Russell with the rebound, and here's Sanaya Rivers. Oh, that basket is waved off after the around the world from Sanaya Rivers.
I've got to say, this young lady is going to be something fabulous to watch. Her future is so bright. What an incredible move. The athleticism, the ability to finish at the rim. The call didn't go her way, but the move, that's highlight material right there.
The number 3 overall recruit in the National Player of the Year, Sanaya Rivers. Can't wait to watch her continue to blossom.
This experience in these minutes that the bench is getting, there's the dive cut, got to convert on that, but the experience that they're getting right now, take full advantage of it. Dawn is getting you ready for, she knows what's to come. We talked about the schedule, who they're getting ready to face in the next couple of weeks, in the next month. But again, the SEC, as we all know, it is one of the toughest, if not the toughest conference to play in and night out. It is going to be a fight.
Well, you had that experience when you were down in Baton Rouge. You think about Joni Taylor and the Georgia Bulldogs meeting Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Gamecocks in last year's SEC championship. I mean, tell me from your perspective what it was like to go against a South Carolina team coached by Dawn Staley. What was that like? I know y'all are friends. I know y'all cool and everything.
It brings out the best in you, because you know that she's going to have her team ready. You better have your team ready. You better have your game plan and have your team with the confidence to handle the size, the pressure, their ability to score the basketball. It was such a great experience, because I not only played in this league, I was able to coach at 2 separate institutions, with the Pat Summit at Tennessee, and then take over LSU, where Debbie Ryan was the head coach for so long. And I can't say enough that when you look at the standings in the SEC, the bottom of the league really is not the bottom. It's just the standings of it, because any given night you can get beat if you're not ready to come and compete.
Always coaching. Always trying to find ways for her team to improve. You see, I mean, you're up by like a whole lot. And still, I don't know if she's completely satisfied. As Anaya Russell, part of that 2020 class, the Lone Ranger from that recruiting class, knocking down the shot. And South Carolina in complete control here from Columbia. The top-ranked Gamecocks doing work at home in Colonial Life Arena. Leah Boston says, I love it, baby. It's the month of November that makes us prepare for those March Madness games. Dawn Staley's team has already tested themselves early on. Looking at this roster, it's not built for just now, but for the future.
11 former McDonald's All-Americans. There's got to be this formula that Dawn has come up with. One, she's got an unbelievable staff. We talked about this earlier. 117 years of coaching experience on that bench. But her staff, they understand we've got to go out and get players that understand Dawn's system and the culture that's here, and they buy in. And they buy in because she's truthful with them, she's upfront, she talks to them about their role and the expectations she has for them. But even more importantly, the upperclassmen brings them along. And I think that is key for any program to be successful. Bree Beal, even though there's players that are in her position, she's going to work with them, she's going to help them. That's the type of players that are in her system.
And I love that you pointed out that coaching staff, the continuity that they've had. Lisa Boyer has been with her the entire time since Dawn Staley came here, freshman year, Jolette Law. I mean, the wealth of experience that they have. And you know, the question mark for a lot of people, and this is the first time you're watching South Carolina or haven't seen them much, you say, okay, 11 former McDonald's All-Americans. So how do you only got one basketball. So like, how do you feed everybody? That's tough to do for everybody to come in and accept their roles.
Your individual stat line doesn't matter. It's got to be what that end score, what that scoreboard says as far as the Gamecocks logo. Nothing else. It doesn't say Aaliyah Boston's name up there. It doesn't say Bree Bill. It doesn't say Sanat. None of them. It's the South Carolina logo. That's what matters. And they also come in here understanding, too, that it's not about my individual awards. I'm here to win national championships. That's what I signed up for, and that's the expectation when you play for Dawn Staley.
Seeing the eye test and just 7 games into the season, this team is the favorite to win it all this year. Is there any piece of the puzzle or any ingredients that are still needed or missing?
We talked about it earlier. You mentioned it earlier. You have to get off to a better start. You have to play 40 minutes of high-level basketball and execute offensively as well as defensively. But what you will notice about a team like South Carolina is that when they play with pace, when they are up and down, they are able to go deep in their bench, and they will wear on some of those other teams that are really good. You know, Stanford is a great team. They've got a lot of talent. Maryland, you can Texas. With Texas, I watched the Texas-Tennessee game. That game could have went either way. The UConn game was just, there's so much talent in women's basketball, and it's so fun to watch. But South Carolina, by far, has the most talent and the most talent deep in their roster.
Yeah, you go back to that point of, you know, there was 18-15 with like 8 minutes to go in the second quarter, and then just unleashed fury on the Aggies. But when you look at their schedule moving forward, who presents the greatest challenge for South Carolina?
Your biggest opponent, and South Carolina's biggest opponent is South Carolina. If South Carolina
Spoken like a true coach, by the way.
If South Carolina plays at that level that they're capable of playing on both sides of the basketball, I don't think there's too many teams out there that are going to be able to maintain. They may play some quarters with them, but to maintain that is going to be difficult.
Cardozo, who has been on fire the last 3 buckets for South Carolina. She's got 8 points. And again, when we talk about the All-Americans and the returning 5 starters, and then you add a player like Cardozo, length to the front court, you know, another option with Boston, Saxton. I mean, it's a spoil of riches.
It is, and you know, probably their starting 5 that come off the 5 that come off the bench probably could go start at some other universities, but they chose to come here to South Carolina because this is where they wanted to play in front of the fans. They love the experience that they have.
We'll have you covered on Conference Championship Saturday with a 4-hour pregame before Georgia and Alabama square off at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. It all starts at noon Eastern. Then after the game, be sure to head back here to the SEC Network for a full game breakdown and interviews with players and coaches. You can see it right here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. Alabama tested by Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Meanwhile, Georgia's defense hasn't given up more than like 17 points this season. I can't wait.
Georgia, again, SEC football is on another level. There's so much talent and you look at the number of players that have gone on to have professional careers. They're coming out of this conference, just like on the women's side. You know, the Aggies have really showed a valiant effort here. I know there's only several minutes left to go in the game, but there are some positives that they can take. They can take what they did in the first 15 minutes of the ball game. Even though it's a 40-minute ball game, there were some good things that they did.
Count the basket for the Aggies. And that layup was good by Jordan Dorsey. Well, Terrell Robinson, who has been at the program for 10 years now, 6 postseason appearances. They came off an NCAA tournament appearance earlier this year. And then when he graduated and returned to coaching, he was a graduate assistant, and his head coach was the Georgia great, All-American Tardy Roundtree.
Very well-coached game plan, just the execution for the Aggies. It's going to be a little difficult against a team like South Carolina. But when you have players who have the experience, like the Aggies, even though they're changing conferences where they've won 4 of the last 6 MEAC regular season championships, and they also won 3 of the previous 5 tournament championships. There's something there for them, including getting to the NCAA tournament. A big win last year against last season's championship over Howard, defeating them 57-55. The Aggies have some pieces to the puzzle that weren't available for them. You look at their bench right now, and you've got several players that were in uniform or didn't travel. So a healthy Aggies team moving forward is going to be a lot better.
picked to finish 4th in the Big South. Spotting up, and the 3 won't go for Bree Hall.
Scott's athleticism right there, just go up and get that rebound was huge.
A&T on a 7-0 run, a little shake and bake, and Sharika McNeil can't finish it off. Virginia Union transfer, you can see just a little dejected running back down the floor. 69-31, a convincing lead for the top-ranked Gamecocks.
This is the Aaliyah Boston show. The ability to score the basketball on the perimeter. She's doing it all tonight. There is no player that I've seen in a long time that has played at this level, defensively and offensively. Her motor, she is what I would call now a high motor player, and that's only going to propel her to take this team as far as she can take them. 32nd career double-double. That's putting up numbers right now. And the best field goal percentage in program history. Hasn't missed a shot. You know what? If I was shooting 13, or I never shot 100%, but I would shoot more. If I was shooting that great of a percentage, I'm shooting every time I touch it. But she's been so selfless, and she's been able to get her teammates great looks. And that's, again, the difference in Aaliyah Boston's game from when she first got here at the collegiate level to now.
Aaliyah Boston, simply put, just showed out tonight. Just showed out. I mean, you think about how can you watch a player's progression and what do you have to do to continue to sustain greatness or this elite level. And what's been just so fun to watch about her is that year by year it's been incrementally better in points scored, but it's everything else that she does on the court that helps to make her team better. Giving that extra pass when it's needed, not taking the shot and being selfish right there, just like you talked about earlier where we saw her in the offense. It was just like, no, it's just take our time. You can sometimes pass up a good shot for a better shot.
And that's what she's playing like. She's playing like a player that's on a mission. And it starts in practice. Her practice habits have just improved dramatically. I was talking with Coach Law earlier, and the intensity that they practice at, even in shoot-around today, they're talking, they're communicating, they're cheering for each other, they're excited for one another. The chemistry, that's what's really unbelievable when you look at this roster and players who are rightfully could go and start somewhere at another college, and they are saying, you know what, I'm here for this team to win it all. And they've signed some of the best players in the country. You can see Sanaya right there, just a high-low. They worked that action today. What they practice and how they practice has shown in today's game.
Well, Sanaya Fagan, a part of, again, the top-ranked recruiting class for South Carolina, striking gold again, adding top 5 recruits in Rivers and Fagan and Aubriana Hall. And we saw Raven Johnson, the promising point guard, go down. She's out for the season with a knee injury, but again, it's the sustainability for the future for South Carolina. And it's just fun to see how good they can continue to be out in transition and giving it up. A nice pass as Demaya Tucker finds her teammate Darks. And Sean Kelly Darks with 6 points.
The Aggies have continued to play hard. There's no question about it that they're going to play hard for Coach. They're going to do some really good things in the future.
Rivers spins it. It's out. Aggies with the rebound. Open look for Jordan Dorsey. Dorsey.
South Carolina right now, good option here offensively. Get the look that you want. Don't play sloppy. Be very intentional on getting the ball either inside where you have a disadvantage or getting that open look.
where our next SEC featured film, and the Trials of Bobby Hoppe, premieres Thursday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. It's the story of the 1957 Auburn National Championship football team and the dark secret that star running back Bobby Hoppe kept for more than 30 years. Fascinating story. You won't want to miss it.
As we were talking about the SEC, you know, and we're talking about some of the great players in the conversations of all these watch lists. You've got to, you know, Ron Howard really jumps out.
Two-time SEC Player of the Year. I mean, yes.
You got Rakia Jackson at Mississippi State with the loss of Bree Bill with Jordan Horston at Tennessee has really stepped up, and I'm going to have to give a little shout out to Kayla Pointer at LSU. She's really playing at a really high level as well. So there's so much talent in this conference that players really make it exciting. I can't say it enough, exciting to watch because they're doing some phenomenal things with the basketball.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Howard, another next-level player that you see here. And look, we got to shout out your Tennessee Lady Vols. I don't know how they're doing it, but they continue to find ways to win. You know, Ray Burrell down right now, and yet Kelly Harper's crew still undefeated.
I'm going to tell you who's going to be a sleeper for everyone. You got to be aware of Joni Taylor's Georgia Bulldogs. Their experience, but their ability to score the basketball multiple ways is there as well. They, too, have the inside play. They've got Morris, who's back. I mean, the intensity that Joni brings to her team, that's another team that we got to keep a close eye on.
Well, you remember that was the Bulldogs who faced off against South Carolina in that SEC championship. And year in and year out, the Southeastern Conference continues to put teams in the top 25. You see Georgia at number 20, Kentucky as well, Texas A&M. Texas A&M, what's their future like? I mean, come on, you got Jordan Nixon. She's just a sweetheart to me. I fell in love with her in the tournament.
She's a winner.
Yep.
She knows how to win. She knows how to put the ball in the hole. And her partner, Kayla Wells there. But Gary Blair always has his teams ready.
In his final season in College Station, and Westlake gets on the board. The senior out of the Palmetto State in Charleston. The South Carolina team has really bought into Dawn Staley's theme for the season of net worth and knowing your net worth. And as a coach, what does that mean to you?
Well, you know, every year Dawn develops a different theme in each season to amplify what the team's goals are for the season. And what she wanted to make sure that every player who wears the South Carolina Gamecock uniforms understands the expectation and their role. She wanted to make sure that they knew that when you put that jersey on or when you represent us, every person has a net worth. And so that's been her theme for this season, and it's a theme that you're going to see throughout the competition because they all play to the worth of their teammates, and they recognize what that looks like.
Westlake says, I want a little bit more. Keep on adding to it. South Carolina, the #1 team in the country, who was a little sluggish to start this ball game, has taken complete control, the dominance that we expected, but a good showing here tonight from Lavasi Taylor, the North Carolina A&T Aggies. However, they fall here 79-42 behind. An outstanding performance from Aaliyah Boston, and Coach Dawn Staley's team moves to a perfect 8-0. Well, Boston, who we talked about throughout the entire broadcast of just how phenomenal she was tonight, but the transformation that we saw from her from last season to now, to bring her game to level up her game this season. And tonight, Aaliyah Boston put on a show.
She did. She showed why, again, when we talk about this, why she is and should be considered and could be the player of the year, because she is filling multiple stat lines for South Carolina. On both sides of the basketball, she scores it, she defends it, she rebounds it. She does an exceptional job of extending the defense because now she's added the 3-ball to her game. And then here's the buddy cut down the middle for the finish. Aaliyah Boston by far has shown why she has capitalized on the transformation from the work that she put in the offseason. It's paying off for her right now.
Well, we have the honor and pleasure to be sitting next to Aaliyah Boston as she joins our announce table right now. And Aaliyah, when you see those numbers pop up on the screen, did you even feel it? Did you just know that you were doing all this good stuff?
See, I didn't know the 13 for 13. I didn't know that.
How do you feel about it? Like, how did you come into tonight's game? Because you guys got off to a slow start, but you helped to propel them in those tough moments, and then you guys ran away with it.
Yeah, actually before the game, Coach Fred told me something. He said, I want you to be patient. He said the game is going to find you, and don't get mad or anything. So I think I just was trying to make sure I find the game, let it come to me, and then it did.
We talked a lot about the transformation, but I'm feeling that there's a different transformation, not just from you physically, but talk to me about where you are mentally for this team.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be strong no matter what the situation is. I think I've developed a role with that, just being a good communicator as well, and so just making sure that I'm staying level-headed throughout the entire game. I just continue, things just helps us to go forward.
How do you approach your role, and how do you feel like your teammates do the same? Because there is so much talent on this team. You know, what's your mindset of how you accept your role?
Just doing what I think needs to happen to help the team. I think that's where we're all at, just making sure that we're each putting in what we need to do that can just help us to move forward, because if not, then it's going to be an unbalance, and we don't want that.
I saw that offensively you were dominating, but defensively you held your own in there. You held down the paint, blocks, steals, deflection, and all those things. That's an added layer to your game. What makes you feel like, you know what, now I'm going to transform not only my body, but I'm transforming my game as well?
I think it all came with that, with the body transformation. I think it helped me to become more mobile on the court, which allows me to get my hands on passes and making sure I'm blocking shots. So it all came with that.
You said bouncy, remember?
Oh, I am bouncy.
Yeah, she said it's bouncy.
I mean, I get up. I mean,
right.
I'm up there.
I saw a little something, but no, we saw something before the game. You did a move.
Yeah.
You did a move. Okay, there it is. And then you added something.
Yeah,
you
so
said,
it's like
what?
a 1-2. Hey.
Now, after tonight's performance, do you feel like you need to add to that a little bit more?
I still think the ballroom dancing. The ballroom dancing for the stars right here.
Oh, I will be there, absolutely.
Bam. And here's the deal. You can do that when you just had a career night as Aaliyah Boston did. I see the moves.
Oh,
okay.
I thought
Oh, you know, we got cameras everywhere to go catch it. They're going to catch it. I love it, Aaliyah. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and congratulations on a great night.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, South Carolina did an amazing job tonight handling business here at home, 79-42. We'll send it to the studio for Nikki Fargas. I'm Tiffany Green saying we out. We'll send it over to Thinking Out Loud.